So, Bo, 14% of restaurants on the States that seems that will not open again.
Yeah, I don't think that that's accurate. Now, in the States in particular, you know, there was a $2.2 billion relief fund that was put out. That doesn't go obviously entirely to restaurants, but there's a huge impact and a large portion that goes to small business. And I was even on a call last Friday with the National Restaurant Association, kind of the big organizational body of restaurants here in the United States. And they detailed all of the different elements within the Small Business Association, what they're doing. There's some really, really incredible aid packages. There's two primary vehicles that both have a forgiveness package attached to them where restaurants can get 8 weeks worth of payroll income kind of in the form of a grant. There's some stipulations. They've got to have a benchmark that's established based on what they used to spend on payroll, and that has to be attached to full-time employee number that they also capture. So as long as they have that same number of full-time employees brought back on, they will get this 8-week period in a forgiveness loan that they'll be able to use to pay employees. So that's one piece of, you know, many that they detailed. There's also a lot of really inexpensive money with really long terms that they're providing through the SBA, the Small Business Administration. So that was kind of a sigh of relief last week when I heard what all of that's going to look like. I don't think that number is going to be 14%, but I do think there's going to be a real impact. If I were guessing right now, I would say probably the reality somewhere around 5%, which when you look at it in the United States, yeah, we've got 1 million restaurants in the United States. That's a lot.
That's a lot. And which businesses will be in a better position to go through the recovery, what I call the recovery curve? Once we reopen, once we go back to operations, which restaurants will be in a better position?
I'm going to answer the question, I think, in a way that most people wouldn't expect. The ones that are going to recover the best are the ones that have learned something from this. I think they're the ones that have, and that's not just one dimensional. I think there's a lot of restaurants in the United States right now that have had to try to figure out how to create new revenue streams. There were a whole lot of concepts that weren't really designed for pickup and for delivery business or to-go business. Now, I think those that have adapted, those that have found these new creative ways to make money, I'm pretty sure that's going to carry over. I don't think anybody who finds a new way to make money is going to stop making money that way, even as this recovers. I think additionally, the second part of that is I think that there's also restaurants, when I say that learn from this, they're going to be more financially responsible, more systems and processes in place, a better understanding of how their P&L flows and how profitability works, how much impact inventory on the shelf has, what cash flow really means. I mean, this is a strict and fierce wake-up call, but I think those that learn from it collectively will get better.
I do agree with you that this situation will reshape the market and will lead us to more professional operations, and will lead us as well to understand the business more from a P&L perspective than from a romantic perspective. I mean, this will shake the industry really, that we have to work on numbers and we have to focus on profitability, definitely, after that.
Yeah, I think it's the upside of the downside, right? It's the unintended consequence. I think that there will be some great disciplines. There will be some great efficiencies captured within this whole time frame as well, right? We'll learn how to do more with less, and I think that that's going to carry over as well. So there's really kind of three prongs to it. There's the new ways to make money. There's the forced disciplines that we have to capture and create. And there's the found efficiencies that will carry through and make us better in general. Now, the fourth unintended consequence, possibly, if I'm just horizontal thinking here, it's terrible when anybody loses a job, when anybody loses a business or income. And I don't want to make light of that at all. But in this culling, there will also be a higher quality, or at least a larger inventory of employees on the market. That's going to make the competition in the market more fierce, and that's going to make people fight harder and do a better job. I think twofold, as owners, we will have to come out of this as better leaders, but also as employees, I think they will have to come out of this as better employees. And that might just be the fourth benefit.
Absolutely. I mean, there is many people that will be unemployed after this, but the ones that stay in the industry, they will have to lead what I call more than a transformation, a metamorphosis of the whole industry, and the talent that will stay in the industry as a big paper in this reshaping the industry as well. I mean, I think that employers will really look which kind of talent they want to have next to them right after the crisis.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think that's spot on.
And both thinking of profitability, that will be one of our main worries. You've written a book, The Art and Science of Menu Profit. In the moment that we have now, that we can rethink our gastronomic catalog, that we can rethink our menus to focus it on a more profitable, let's say, offer. What can we do? Where do we have to focus? Where are the first actions to start having a normal menu to a menu that it's focused on profitability?
I think so. It's a great question, and there's a lot to it. I think that there needs to be an understanding of the disciplines that go into the menu construct. We hear terms like menu engineering, and that is really a misnomer. That's talking more about the menu psychology and the nuance meant to engage or elicit a response from a customer and for them to see value in the pricing structure. And that's way much further ahead than the construct part of it. The true engineering comes in the way that we build our menus intelligently in the first place. So I would encourage operators to create a set of rules. And this is probably one of the most critical elements. Now, depending on your concept, those rules could be different, but I'll give you some examples. If you're in a high volume, high turn restaurant, the rule probably needs to be, first and foremost, that each dish can be made in less than 10 minutes. Let's just say as an example, you put a time indicator on the product first. Then you put an indicator of the cross-application or cross-utilization of items. Is this item going to require new inventory items? If so, are those items perishable? Are they sustainable or shelf-stable? Right, so there's also indicators of the burden of inventory that you're going to have on hand. Then there's going to be, does it complement the menu or does it complicate the menu? And I think that can sometimes, as chefs especially, we have this forced discipline that we have to keep in mind. And the rule is this: just because I can doesn't mean I should, right? Now, probably the most important thing that I try to teach people on a daily basis, there's a concept in menu psychology called fair market value. And as consumers, it's surprising how much we know within a real specific degree of accuracy what something is worth. If we've seen it someplace else, if we've eaten it someplace else, it's pretty easy for us to understand the value of an item, which is not commensurate to the quality of the restaurant. A fast food restaurant that sells a burger, my threshold for that item is $6. A fine dining restaurant, my threshold for that item is maybe $11, $12. But if we're using higher ingredients and we're putting more into that burger and trying to sell it for $18, $20, you create a disconnect. Doesn't mean your food cost formula isn't right. Doesn't mean you didn't have to charge that much, but the consumer has a threshold. So I try to encourage people to get outside of the box and create dishes that people can't attach a value to because they haven't seen anything quite like it. Once you shift from the expected to the unexpected and really engage in the creativity and build dishes in a way that no one's ever seen them, how much are they worth? Nobody knows, right? And that's your opportunity, I think, to profit. So that's
So
a handful of things.
if I understand it well, we should work it in four different ways. The first one is to see if what we're going to produce in the kitchen matches our time and our resources, right? If we have the people and the time, starting by there, how much is going to cost me this on time and probably on labor resources? From this, move to the optimization of the inventory, right? To use these cross ingredients. From here to avoid complications, right? To make it as smooth and easy possible, and then to avoid as well price association with another product that is so similar that in the mind of the consumer, this product is always related to a price. So operations, inventory, avoiding complications, and the association of another product that marks, in a way, the price of what you're gonna eat.
Yeah, and I'm going to give you one quick thing to throw in the operations bucket. That's a really, really helpful thing when it comes to consideration of menu construct. You have to look at where is the current burden of each item according to each station within the kitchen. And this is something that people miss all the time. Let's say the average kitchen has an area for a grill, an area for saute, an area for frying food, and maybe an area that's a cold application like salads. To go through your current menu and look at how many of those items come from each station, and then you have to consider the burden that a new item would create if you put it in an already busy station. So the stations will kind of dictate where you can put the item, where new ideation should come from, so that you can ease the burden on one side, because all of that can create the traffic jamming and the long ticket times and the disrupt within the way the food's supposed to go out. So like I said, I mean, I could talk about this subject for hours, I won't, but that is, I think, a really important hack that people should know and put into their rules for construct.
But something else that will be very impacted by the situation will be the brand of restaurants, no? And I think that we will have to rethink our marketing efforts. We will have to rethink probably the message that we deliver to the market, because probably, I'm quite sure, values will change, and what people will be expecting from restaurants will change in quite a dramatic way. So how can we deal with this new post-virus marketing that will have to give different messages and have a different approach to consumers?
Look, that's a great question too. And I'll tell you, I've thought about this quite a bit. I think a lot of us are living in the minute right now. It's reactionary, and it's just looking an hour in front of us or a day in front of us. But I think there's great lessons that will come out of this, and there's also great expectations that will come out of this, namely cleanliness. And that might seem like, oh, I've just got to do a better job cleaning my restaurant. That's not true. You actually have to do a better job putting the message about what you're doing for cleanliness and safety in your marketing literature, in your messaging. That's going to have to be part of the brand, is explaining to the guest how vigilant you are about this, what the expectation is. And that doesn't always have to be with words. It can be with illustration and illusion, and it can be anchored to other elements, but the guest has to infer that this is safe and healthy and good. And I think people are going to be more critical of that than they ever have been. And that's real short term.
Safety is probably the word. Safety. Everybody will be looking for safety. No? Recover that trust, that the place that you're going to have your meal, it's a safety place. Probably will be the main challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think the guest is going to have a heightened awareness of that for a long time. They're going to be paying so much attention to cross-contamination, bare hand contact, touching your face. Even when you're in the environment, there's an incredible opportunity Messaging and branding and marketing is a vehicle that's more dynamic than just getting the guest in the door, right? The real promise of how that works is not just by getting them in the door, but then by doing the proper utility inside the restaurant that they come back. That's where the return on investment is with all of that. It's pointless to market just to get someone in the door once. If you can't keep them, that's wasted money and effort. So I'd like people to transition about the ideology of menu or of messaging and marketing and branding beyond just the first engagement, and really think, what are they doing to sustain or further that message and that image once the guest is there? And that's going to be scrutinized now more than ever.
Definitely. We're talking about profitability. We're talking about new marketing. And there is something that worries me a lot, and it comes when we have to reopen our teams. A lot of them will be sad people, will be people that have personal loss in this situation, with a lot of worries about the future, and we have to reopen something that we call the industry of happiness, and we have to go back to our front of the houses with a big smile, and we have to reopen our hotels and give this warmth welcome, you know. So what can we do during this quarantine time to keep our teams in a good mood, to keep our teams positive, and to keep them really alive, to have them on our team and really giving the best of them when quarantine is over and when we are able to reopen our restaurants?
Well, it's a great question, and it brings up something that, I've been a staunch advocate for a long time, and I think now it forces this concept of leadership front and center. And as industry people, we have to shift from managing to leading. And I will explain the difference between the terms. Genuinely, by definition, managing means to maintain, to keep things from breaking, to keep things from becoming chaotic. Leadership means to move things forward, right? There's categorical difference. With my clients, I won't even let them use the word manager. I don't like the intonation. They have to focus on the word leadership. So to answer your question, now that I could set the groundwork for definition, to answer the question, it is compassion. Compassion is number one, right? The servant's heart. That's the reason why most of us are in this business, because we want to serve and take care of people. We have to start doing that internally first. And we have to check in on our people. We have to take care of our people. We have to make sure we understand that they know that we are here for them. We understand the importance of mental health. And we've always kind of been likened to the industry of show business. The show must go on. All of us in this industry are stewards. And what we can do to champion this recovery is the power of a smile. We might have to fake it, but if that makes everybody else feel better, and it makes the tension fall out of their shoulders, and it makes them want to be around people and enjoy experiences like they used to, that's our burden. It's not going to be easy, but it's our responsibility. And eventually the reality will catch up with the show, and it will be the normal. But it really starts with us as leaders. We have to show that without cracking, without misstepping. And we've got to give that to our employees and our people in our community first. And then we have to ask them to come and do it with us for the same reason. And it will have a positive viral effect where we can shift from this doom and gloom to that genuine happiness and get people back to where they need to be.
It's beautiful, this change of mind from manager to leader. I think it's one of the clues for these team managers, that they can go one step further and they can start doing more than maintaining, but improving their processes, their people, their talents. So that's a very positive and optimistic and looking further way of thinking. I love it. And Bo, you know both industries. from both sides of the ocean. You know the States industry, and you know the Spanish industry. You have visited our country many times, and you are very familiar with the way we operate and we market and we do hospitality here, and the way we run restaurants. What do you think will be the main differences after the day D? When we open, how will the industry in the States face the recovery curve, and how will the Spanish industry face the recovery curve, knowing both industries and knowing the different personalities and DNA from each one? Which do you think will be the main different strategies for it?
You know, I hope the strategies aren't too much different. I will tell you they definitely are now. But I hope that throughout this course, there's been an interesting catalyst in the environment right now. I think the world is aware more than they ever have been of best practice. We have other countries that are facing the same challenge we all are. Some are further ahead than others. And so we're looking at what other people are doing that are ahead of us to try to make it better. I don't think that should stop here. That should keep going. When I look at the differences between our industries, I had this epiphany, probably 20 years ago, the first time I went to Europe and traveled around for 3 weeks. It dawned on me immediately that the difference between our cultures was, how I would interpret it, was in the US, we live to work. It's what defines us. But in the time that I've spent in Europe, and not just from that first time 20 years ago, but even still, I feel this way, is the European culture works to live. It's an ends to a mean, and they're serious about what they do, but the importance of family and community and just that social part of life is what gets them up in the morning. For us, our jobs get us up in the morning. That's kind of a big difference. I hope the US, and I think everybody will, I think they'll understand this, how much we've longed for interaction and people, and really just being quarantined has forced neighborhoods together, people talking to neighbors they never talked to before, going out on walks and seeing people and saying hello. All that, I think, will start to reverberate into how we socialize as communities moving forward. Sometimes it takes a disaster like this to bring people closer together. And I hope all of us in the industry do a great job of capitalizing on that and really making those people that come into our businesses feel more welcome than we ever have. I think that will really help expedite this and show that we've all learned something critical.
I hope that your positive way of seeing the situation, which I share a lot, inspire us, all of us, to think that we can make a lot out of this. We will have a lot of bad impacts, but we have to keep smiling. We belong to this industry, the industry of happiness, and I'm sure that we will come out stronger, and we will come out more together than ever. Well, thank you very much for sharing this chat, this small talk with me. Thanks very much for giving us some nice information and clues about the business. And let's keep in touch. Keep safe. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones. Stay home. Stay home. Stay home. And let's keep each other updated on what's going on.
For sure. Ava, thank you for having me. And more importantly, thank you for hosting this and doing this for our community. I hope that people can really spend some time right now learning and focusing on, with this downtime, is a great opportunity to get better and to get more educated about our entire business. And that stems from the leadership in companies down to the employees. We can all take this opportunity to hone our craft, to dive in and learn a little bit more. And platforms like this and books and literature, I mean, it's everywhere. And I hope everybody will take advantage of that to come back better than ever.
We will definitely do it. Thank you very much, Bo. Big kiss. Bye-bye.
Bye.